Thanks for joining us today. This is my first live session. So I've printed off the questions that you gave me to help me do this live session in a valuable way that brings you value. So as you can see, we are outside at the sauna that I am in process of building thus far. And today's live session is going to be just a relaxed Q&A session. I'm not going to be demonstrating any sort of part of the build. I'm just taking questions that you've sent me and I'm going to be answering them. The first question is, what inspired this sauna build? And that's a really great question. For me personally, living in Minnesota, it was about warmth, man. Both my wife and I, we love going cross country skiing in the wintertime. And there's nothing better than finishing a cross country ski and hopping in a sauna. We've experienced it at a few places that we've stayed at when we travel for Airbnbs, and it's been glorious. So also some friends of ours and family members have purchased or built saunas for themselves, and they've invited us over to hang out in them, and we just really loved it. So I started researching and asking myself, what would it look like to put one of these in my own house? Next question, what was the very first step you did in this sauna build? It's a good one. The very first step I did was try to figure out where I wanted this sauna. We live in St. Paul, Minneapolis. Sorry, St. Paul, Minnesota. And as you can imagine, city plots of land aren't the largest. And we do value our space within our yard for our kids to play. So finding a space that worked out well was challenging. Ultimately decided on choosing the spot right next to our garden shed because it was really just a dead space. It was right in between our garage and the garden shed, and it was a perfect spot for the sauna. It is further away from the home, so when I do connect the electrical, it's going to be a challenge, but it works. What's the biggest challenge you've ran into so far, and how did you fix it? Biggest challenge I've had so far was assembling the walls so that the joists of the walls that supported in between were level with the face of the wall. And why is this important is these panels that we put on for the exterior, if those joists aren't level, they teeter when they're placed up onto the building. So the biggest challenge was making sure and ensuring that those joists were flush. I thought initially just laying my wall down flat on the concrete floor in the garage would keep this in check. But after doing half of the wall joists and tilting it up to check how things were lining up, I noticed that it was off. So what I did was slow down a little bit and just check the joists on both sides, not just the top, and pressing down onto the floor before screwing in the ends. I'd say that's the biggest challenge so far. Everything else has been okay, not completely efficient because I don't have automated power tools. I'm doing a lot of things by hand, but overall it's been pretty good. What surprised you most during this build so far? I'd say what surprised me most has been the process along the way. Like each step of this build has its own challenges, has its own fun parts of it, where doing home maintenance, rental repairs, your typical stuff just to maintain your home, you never get exposed to. Framing walls, putting a subfloor down. Like in our rental properties and in my own home that I live in, I just don't have that opportunity to try that as much. So I've really appreciated and been surprised with the value behind that. It might sound weird, but those of you who have builds, you understand. I know you do. But when you're sharpening a skill or you're learning something new on something that you didn't recognize, you didn't know very well, there's a little sense of like, oh, this isn't as hard as you think, or oh, this is extremely challenging. I understand why people get paid a lot of money to do this, or there's people that specialize in this because those skills are super important. They take time to learn. So I'd say that's a surprise along the way. Oh, this is a good one. Someone asked, how are you going to heat your sauna? And how did you decide on this? So, good question. I have not purchased the official heat source yet, but we have aligned on what type of heat source we want. And we aligned on electric. And big reason why is we're going to be out and about, bringing kids to swim lessons, bringing kids to activities, especially as they get older. And I've seen the benefits of having an electric system linked up to a Wi-Fi so that you can say, heat up when you're away from home and you arrive and it's hot. So that's the biggest thing that aligned on the stove type. As for what brand of sauna stove we're going with, I've narrowed it down to about 3 different brands. There's so many sauna stove brands out there. Those of you that have built saunas before, like, thumbs up if you agree with me. There's tons of different options out there. And if you've had experience in choosing and selecting those options, please let me know, provide your recommendations. I feel like it's a tough choice because it's also one of the most expensive things that you need to do in a sauna build. So there's a lot of weight in that decision. But I'm not trying to get too worked up about it. I'll choose an electric model that's the right size for this size of sauna and go from there. At the land, though, those of you that have been tuning in to the construction trailer to cabin build, we are going to be putting a wood fire sauna up there. Probably not this year because it's already almost September, but probably next spring we're going to put up that wood fire sauna. So super excited about that. Those of you that are interested in that, please like, comment, let me know. Interior material choices. So what did you use? Well, I haven't completed the interior yet, but you can just use construction grade 2x4s for the framing. And then the material that's going to be exposed to the heat is cedar. And typically that's what saunas use. I am going to do the benches out of aspen just because I don't want to purchase that large of cedar boards. To be honest, on the inside material, I actually have bought dog ear raw cedar picket fences, and I got them for $1.50 a piece, rather than paying $12 for a cedar tongue and groove board that you typically get. They're about 1/4 inch to 1/8 of an inch less thick than tongue and groove, but I'll be able to put these through a planer and then put a 45-degree angle along that edge so it overlaps, which will allow me to save at least $10 per board. Next question we have here, insulation. What insulation are you using, and the vapor barrier on how you're going to lay that out? The answer is pretty simple on that. I chose to do mineral wool or rock wool. This is spun from a rock material, and it is resistant to mold and also does not light on fire. And this is typically the top recommendation and what people go with for saunas to allow for prevention of mold buildup, the resistance to the moisture that happens in a sauna and the heat, and it also has really good insulating properties. So we got rock wool insulation, and then the vapor barrier on the exterior. You just use normal house block that allows the keep the rain out and allow the building to breathe with the rock wool insulation. And then on the inside of that rock wool insulation, on the frame of the 2x4s that you see behind me there, I have a foil barrier, not the bubble wrap style, because that will melt or outgas when you are heating up that sauna, but just pure foil with some texture to it so that it doesn't fold and I get frustrated. And I've been told that's a really good material. So that's on order. It's going to be here Tuesday, and we're going to be putting in the rock wool insulation this weekend and then putting up that foil wrap as soon as that arrives earlier next week. Question I have for you: if you've built a sauna or you're interested in building a sauna, What scared you about this process? Please, please tell me, because I'd love to have a discussion about this. Let's work together to overcome that fear, or warn me about maybe something I'm overlooking in building my own sauna. That'd be greatly appreciated. What mistakes have you made, and how can someone watching avoid those mistakes? Probably biggest mistake came with putting up the paneling and just how challenging it was to hit the 2x4 frame studs with the paneling as I was securing that paneling to those studs. Just using a chalk line and marking the top and bottoms of those wall frames as I put up one panel at a time, and then running a chalk line so that I know exactly where that 2x4 is, and I'm not wasting time measuring out where that 2x4 is once the panel's up. What's your favorite moment so far along this build process? That's a really good question. I love the positivity in the question, so thank you for asking that. Honestly, this paneling right here is the bee's knees on ease of installation. They're 4x4 sheets, as you saw in my video. Well, I don't know if I've posted that yet. I might be working on the editing still. But the 4x4 sheets make it so easy to just put up your paneling and cut out your windows and be done. So I'd say my favorite moment was putting up those panels because you got to see progress so quickly. So that was my favorite moment. Good question. Thank you. Maybe one more question here, and then we'll wrap up. Okay? Sorry I didn't get to all of them that we had prior, or that you sent to me prior. I'll try to do better about being efficient on this whole Q&A process in the future. But the last question that I have here is, what's one piece of advice that I have for people that are wanting to build their sauna or planning to build a sauna? So my one piece of advice is, think about the amount of light you want in your sauna. I've been in saunas where there's no windows at all, and it's a different vibe than saunas that have windows. For us personally, we really enjoy that natural lighting coming in, so we put a lot of windows in our sauna. We have double pane thermal windows that I'm going to be putting in this weekend, and I'll show you how to do that in an upcoming short, potentially long form content. The editing is challenging though, but word of advice is really think through the windows and the natural lighting you want in your sauna, because it makes a difference. It changes the vibe of your sauna. So that's my tip. And get your window size and make sure that you frame your building around that window size. It's a lot tougher to just put up a box framing and then install your windows once the walls are up. It's better to know what size your windows are and then build the frame around them. That's it for today's Q&A session. Those of you that have subscribed to Landlord DIY Dad, thank you. We have reached the 100 subscribers mark this week and couldn't have done it without you. I really appreciate it. So if it's been valuable or just entertaining to watch, please share with others, like, comment, and I look forward to continuing to post videos. I'll probably try to do live sessions maybe once or twice a month to stay engaged with the people that love this channel. And the next stuff coming up from a content side of things is we're going to be installing our thermal pane windows that we got on a marketplace deal online that saved us close to $1,000 probably. And I'm also going to be installing the rock wool insulation and putting the foil barrier up, as well as finishing the edging around the roofs. I don't like how the metal roof just overhangs and it looks a little sloppy around that trim around the outside. So I'm going to do my best to clean that up and see how that goes. Thanks for following along. That's a wrap for today's Q&A. Hope everyone has a great weekend.